Let me give you the example of the identity politics games just run amok. It's so prevalent that it's almost like it's redundant, but it happens every day. So there is everyone knows, or you should know, the Congressional Black Caucus. The Congressional Black Caucus has a PAC, and it's called the CBC PAC. And it is very closely tied to the Congressional Black Caucus. It has been reported and it's come out that they have ties with Big Tobacco. And there's a letter that was sent out from a team of a coalition, rather, of progressive groups, and not just progressive groups, but also groups that don't necessarily identify as progressive, but whether they know it or not, they are progressive. Let me list you the names of the people who addressed the CBC PAC, calling them out on their donors, one of which is Big Tobacco. Black Lives Matter, Color of Change, the Black Alliance for Just Immigration, the Campaign for Media Justice, Black Lives Matter Sacramento, Black Lives Matter Rockland Alliance, Black Lives Matter Bay Area, Black Lives Matter New York City, and Black Lives Matter Tampa Bay. All of these organizations signed on to this letter addressing the fact that the Congressional Black Caucus PAC has large corporate influences, not only from not just from the usual suspects, but even some tobacco companies. Now, I'm setting this up so you can see how ridiculous this election is and has been. You have at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 organizations that are not only run by Black people, but have Black in their name that signed onto this petition, onto this letter. Earlier today, somebody who I generally, I like and respect people until they show me and give me reason not to like and respect them. So somebody I generally respect and admire actually tweeted this out. This is from Angela Rye. She is a political consultant and she's on television all the time. She tweeted this out. Efforts by organizations funded by white progressives to malign the CBC PAC because it didn't endorse a candidate who doesn't reflect our values. Hold tight, because sometimes seeing is believing. I want to show it on the screen for you guys. This is Angela Rye. Efforts by organizations funded by white progressives to malign the CBC PAC because it didn't endorse a candidate who doesn't reflect our values. Yeah. All of those organizations doing all of these phenomenal things in our country, but because they had the nerve to call out disgusting sources of funding being pumped into the Congressional Black Caucus PAC, because they had a nerve to call that out, Angela decides to make this about white progressives and somehow try to shield the CBC PAC from legitimate criticisms by attacking white progressives. And it's so twisted that I'm actually having to take my time just embracing the insanity that here you are, an organization that is set up to represent and to benefit the Black community, taking dollars from organizations that are detrimental to the Black community. And when the Black community calls you out, you blame white progressives. You cannot make this shit up. This is just this is like a microcosm of how ridiculous this 2016 election has become. I think I have another example of how ridiculous this election has become. And I'm pointing these out because I honestly think that we did not realize how crazy these people really are. I think that's what it was. I don't think we realize exactly the level to which they were willing to manipulate identity politics to the point where it is just outright like this. Look at your screen now. These are tweets. Now, the first person, Angela Rice, she has some scope and some influence, right? She has some impact. She has a lot of relationships and is on TV. This guy, he has, Matthew Chapman. I don't really know who he is, but this is just another example, right? Here is Katie Halper. Follow her on Twitter. Always has something good to say. Talking about the condescension and mansplainers from Hillary. And here he is coming in to lecture a woman on whether or not she knows what mansplaining even means. So here Katie is lamenting the fact that there's mansplainers in the Team Hillary. And here comes a man from Team Hillary telling her that she doesn't understand what mansplaining actually means. This is happening every day. I'm almost back on track, guys. I'm almost back on track. I had a lot of stuff to really throw me off today, but I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it here. It also reminds me of Joe Biden this morning. Joe Biden trying to defend the 94 crime bill essentially says that the crime bill is not the problem. White supremacy, I'm sorry, not white supremacy, but systemic racism is the problem. Not realizing or not caring that the reason the 94 crime bill was so detrimental to Black people was because of systemic racism. You have this campaign, Hillary, they have gone so far in order to help Hillary Clinton get into office that they have allowed white people to lecture Black people about what racism really is. They have men lecturing women about what mansplaining and sexism really is. And they have Black people being lectured by other Black people, ignoring the fact that they're being lectured by Black people and instead pointing and saying it's all because of the white progressives. Were any of you ready? Were any of you ready for this? Were any of you actually intellectually prepared for the tomfoolery that these people were going to bring in this election? And the reason I'm pointing this out, it's because the effectiveness of this narrative against somebody like Bernie Sanders, who's a man and who's white. I can't promise you that the next guy who's going to be the master progressive is going to be a minority woman, vet, disabled. Right. We don't know if the next champion of progressivism is going to be like the intersection of all intersections so that identity politics can't be played on them. The only reason Hillary Clinton didn't do this in 2008 is because Obama existed on an intersection that she didn't. He was Black. So she could not run these games in 2008. But oh boy, up against an old white Jewish guy, it's like taking candy from a baby. And this narrative is so pervasive that it saturates every single facet of this campaign, no matter whether it's media heads talking about something that Bernie Sanders said, or whether it's media heads pulling on random Twitter users and elevating those random Twitter users that we don't even know if they're real or not, and some of them are real, but elevating them to the point where here is a random Twitter user saying something sexist and he likes Bernie Sanders. Therefore, all Bernie Sanders supporters are Bernie bros. This is what we've been fighting against this entire election. and we were not prepared for it. And that's part of the reasons we got our ass handed to us. And yes, it's not over. I'm sorry. I've been dissecting this since August. So I mean, I've been performing an autopsy on this since August, since we even began. And it's such an effective tactic that if we don't prepare years in advance to fight back against it, then the only progressive that we could actually run against black neoliberals in particular would have to be like somebody who wins the intersectionality award. I don't want to start piecing together one, but you get the picture. So we got Joe Biden lecturing black people on not complaining about the 94 crime bill, because the 94 crime bill fixed up your communities. The real problem is systemic racism. Then you got Angela Rye, who's defending the CBC PAC, who's been attacked by black organizations who are tired of the type of funding that they're getting, now blaming white people. And you got men out here mansplaining to women that they don't understand what mansplaining is. It's almost too much. It's almost too much for me to even handle. Not for real, but that's kind of how I feel.